Number 10. Fistus and Porcello. Two 1600-year-old Roman curse tablets were finally deciphered at a museum in Italy. First off, how pissed off are you to spend multiple days chipping away at rock and metal, jotting down an eternal curse? Usually a couple deep breaths in about 5 minutes gets you over about anything in life. A drawing of a snake-headed deity, possibly Hecate, the goddess of the underworld and sorcery. The crossed arms symbolize the binding of this deity to the curse. This is what it says. Crush, kill Fistus the senator. May Fistus dilute, languish, sink, and may all his limbs dissolve. Okay, that's a little harsh, no? The other tablet cursing Porcello. Quote, destroy, crush, kill, strangle Porcello and his wife Morilia. Their soul, heart, buttocks, liver. Like liver? They were acquired by the museum in the 19th century, then forgotten until their rediscovery in 2009. Could be anywhere in the late Roman Empire. The two curses, written in Latin, lay at the Museo Archeologico Civico. How pissed off are you to want to dissolve someone? You know what I mean? Honestly. Number 9. Jack the Ripper. As always, if you dig what we do here, throw us a thumbs up down below. Let us know in the comments which one of these true stories scared you the most. Okay, in the poverty-ridden districts of East London in 1888, newspapers were claiming horrific headlines surrounding one Jack the Ripper. Evidence shows throats cut, abdominal surgeries, well, much closer to mutilations more than anything, taking at least 5 women's lives and leaving a horrific sight behind. The removal of organs led authorities to propose that the killer had anatomical and surgical knowledge, highly educated, possibly a doctor or a surgeon. Numerous letters were received by media and authorities from the Scotland Yard proposing a murderer was amidst the city. The title Jack the Ripper spewed across every newspaper. The murders were never solved, and the legends surrounding these crimes became a combination of historical research, pseudo-history, and fear-inducing media. Number 8. The Ancient Ram Inn. An ancient old haunted inn, huh? Wonder how much rooms are going for nowadays. Also a fully functioning haunted pub. It's located in Watton-under-Edge, a market town within Gloucestershire, England. Look at this place, it's like bending and molding to the earth over time. The inn has been owned and operated by many, as it's the oldest building in the village going back about 1,000 years. 1145. Hope they cleaned up their beer taps a little. The inn was said to have been owned by the St. Mary's Church when first built, and of course it's haunted. The Ancient Ram Inn has been investigated by years of paranormal researchers. Shows like Ghost Adventures, Most Haunted. The inn was investigated by a UK paranormal group, the Ghost Club, the oldest paranormal research organization in the world. Not to mention the backyard is home to about a 5,000-year-old pagan burial ground where witches were apparently burned at the stake. Yeah. I'll just take the Guinness pot pie to go, please. Number 6. Osiris. Yet again, something stolen that's very, very old. Why do people steal the oldest, most cursed stuff? The infamous statue of Osiris. In 1971, during an excavation in Saqqara, Egyptologist Walter Bryan Emery found a small statue of the Egyptian god of death, Osiris. Emery took the statue of Osiris, and once at his house, Emery went to the bathroom to shower. After a few moments, apparently his assistant heard Emery screaming in fear. He found him, clutching the sink, scared to death and paralyzed. Emery was diagnosed with paralysis of the right side of his body and was unable to speak. He died the following day. Yeah, talk about a curse of the pharaohs. Like, buddy, you can't just steal stuff and then just throw it up overseas in a museum. Especially the stuff that clearly says in hieroglyphics, do not remove. This is cursed. It's pretty clear right there. Like, never steal anything ancient, you know? That's just a scary movie like waiting to happen. Number 5. The Perrin family. In 1952, Ed and Lorraine founded the New England Society for Psychic Research. They quickly gained notoriety after this next case. The Perrins. In 1971, the Perrin family, Carolyn, Roger, and their 5 daughters moved into a 14-room farmhouse in Rhode Island. At first, items started disappearing, then the ghostly sightings started. It was discovered that the home had some previous sinister owners. Self-immolation, freak accidents, and of course, murder in the attic. Whoever the spirit was, she perceived herself to be the mistress of the house, and she resented the competition my mother posed. The Perrins asked the Warrens to come in more than 10 separate times to help against this sinister, ghastly entity. During one seance, Carolyn was possessed, even rising from the ground while sitting in a chair. Andrea, the oldest daughter, said, "My mother began to speak a language not of this world in a voice not of her own. Then her chair levitated and she was thrown across the room." Yeah, just zipping around the house, floating around on a chair like the Jetsons? Yeah, no thank you, that's like haunted. Just bulldoze that thing, would you? Number 4, the ring. One ring to rule them all. The Vine Ring, aka the Ring of Silvianus, is a gold ring from the 4th century AD. The ring was discovered on a farm in 1785 in England. First the property of a British Roman named Silvianus. Apparently, it was stolen by a person named Senicianus, upon which Silvianus hexed the ring with a curse. In 1929, during excavations of the site, archaeologists discovered the now curse that goes with said ring, consulting shortly after with one J.R.R. Tolkien. The band of the ring has 10 edges. Among it is the goddess Venus engraved, along with the words, "Live in God." The lore goes, Silvianus' ring was stolen by someone named Senicianus. Silvianus created and hexed a tablet in which he wrote, "For the god Nodens, Silvianus has lost a ring that has donated 1/2 of its worth to Nodens. Among those named Senicianus, permit no good health until it's returned to the temple of Nodens." Yeah, that sounds like a spell to me, dude. And Nodin is like Poseidon, so you don't want any of that smoke. Number 3, the Kaimuki House. Do me a favor and cancel that surfing trip immediately. Okay, maybe not. Apparently, murder in a most foul nature has occurred in that house many times. Known by locals as the most haunted place on the island, the house itself looks like a pretty normal surf-friendly home. Enter stage right, the Kasha. A creature apparently said to reside in the actual house. A man-eating ghoul from Japanese folklore. Not just a story either, the events from the Kaimuki house have been well documented over the years. Interpretations of this monster includes a ghoul who lives and feeds on the dead, or a cat-like demon from the sky who steals away bodies. In 1942, police officers were called to a house by a woman repeating, "She's trying to get my children." The officers could do nothing but watch in horror as members of the family were levitated, ragdolled, and hurled across the room by an unknown force. Yeah, haunted. Number 2, the devil's bidding. The devil made me do it. Actually now an official term of phrase pleaded before a court of law. Who'd have thunk that possession under demonic influence could be argued against in a Supreme Court? Rewind to 1981. Ed and Lorraine Warren, famous demonologist duo, were called and documented to the exorcism of then 8-year-old David Glatzel. Attended by his family, his sister and her boyfriend, and Father Gordon, a priest of Connecticut. During this horrifying exorcism, the sister's boyfriend invites the demon to enter his body instead of remaining in his sister's little brother. The Glatzels, including the Warrens, apparently witnessed the demon that was possessing the boy transport itself from one body to the other. Cut 2. The boyfriend then goes home and stabs his landlord multiple times under demonic possession, apparently while growling like an animal. This case became the first American murder trial to claim demonic possession as a defense. This is absolutely jarring. And our number 1 spot, of course, the Octavius. The Octavius became more than just a sailor's legend in 1775 when a whaling ship named the Herald found it aimlessly drifting off the coast of Greenland. The scary part, with all of its crew frozen dead. Frozen solid by the Arctic mists and winds. To add to the spookiness, the ship's captain was found still sitting at his desk, pen in hand at the logbook in front of him, finishing an entry from 1762. The Octavius, a legendary ghost ship. Apparently the schooner was found by the 5-man boarding party. The entire crew of 28 below deck completely frozen solid and almost perfectly preserved in time. The last entry in the log was from November 11, 1762, accounting the ship had been lost in the Arctic for more than 13 years. Yo, that's terrifying. Just seeing a ship sail up beside you? Ahoy! Oh my goodness!
Kicking off our list at number 10, Princess Diana. We'll start with a tragedy right off the gate. Here we go. Prince Charles, the oldest son of the Queen, he straight up admitted to having an affair with Camilla right before his divorce from his first wife, Princess Diana. So in turn, Princess Diana addressed that relationship and what exactly happened. During that famous 1995 interview with BBC, she couldn't have said it better if I'm being honest myself. Diana said, very confidently, "Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." That's a Princess Diana roast, folks. Oh no! Yeah, Princess Diana, she's full of roasts apparently. Diana also said she was in love with riding instructor Major James Hewitt during her marriage to Charles, so everybody was a little busy, it seemed, and rightfully so. Diana's like, yeah, I'm not hanging out with this guy. Diana and Charles divorced in 1996, only a year before her tragic accident took her life. Later in 2005, he married Camilla. Yeah, has anybody seen Spencer? Kristen Stewart looks great in that movie, and I want to know if it's worth the watch. Comment down below. Number 9, the Great Fire. One of the most wild Nostradamus predictions of all time. It reads, the blood of the just will commit a fault at London, burnt through lightning of 23's the 6th. The ancient lady will fall from her high place, several of the same sect will be killed. Now, there are of course many people who believe that this entry here was actually one that predicted the Great Fire of London that occurred in 1666. The line 23's the 6th and times 20 by 3, and then you add 6, you get 66. Right? Quick math. But most importantly, it may also mention London and the royal family. And in real life, this fire did affect them as well. Also, it is said by many that the reference to the lady here is another term for the kingdom, the lady. This means that Nostradamus was predicting, maybe, that the kingdom was going to fall as a result of the Great Fire. So, yeah, he kind of nailed it. I don't know. Number 8, King James. Not to be confused with LeBron James, although he's a pretty good king as well. He's alright, that fellow. This is a different king. In an official 16th century medical book, the actual medical advice at one point was to not bathe. Don't do it or else you're a sinner, I guess. Use not baths or stews, nor sweat too much, for all openeth of the pores of a man's body, and maketh the venomous air to enter, and for to infect the blood. First of all, what? What did you just say? Why is every shred of medical knowledge from the past always written in riddles, like it's a Harry Potter spell? You know what I mean? God forbid you have bronchitis in the 16th century. A doctor is like, yes, just a flower petal, we'll fix that. The doctor was one of these. Comes in? No way, not listening to that guy. They thought that taking a bath would make you sick, so King James IV, apparently he never took a bath. And his hygiene was so bad that he would sometimes pass on lice to others just by walking by them. He would walk by and they'd be like, ugh. Guy's got Steven Tyler's hair. What is that? Like, can we cut it if it's infected with gross? Can we just, maybe a bald king? How does a bald king sound?
Thanks. Number 7, the Philip experiment. A local 1972 parapsychology experiment called, simply named, the Philip experiment was conducted just down the street from us here in Toronto. University professor and mathematician team Dr. A.R. George Owen and Dr. Joel Witten were attempting to prove that poltergeists are just manifestations of the human psyche and not actually really supernatural beings. They created a lecture and fictitious character in an attempt to communicate with said entity through a controlled seance. The character was named Philip. His fictional backstory coincided with real historic events and places. Born in 1624 England, had an early military career, knighted by 16, in the English Civil War, and died at 30. Then the group was seated around a table via lecture hall. The professors then dimmed the lights, leaned into the seance, and participants began feeling a presence. Lots of table vibrations, breezes, unexplained voices. Sounds that matched up to Philip's life quite a bit. At one point, even the table went up on a single leg and was even apparently thrown across the room by itself. Audio, video, and witness accounts documented the paranormal events. Yeah, this is like really scary stuff. Again, like right down there. Number 6, the Enfield Monster. In 1973, 2 McDaniel children of Enfield, Illinois claimed to see a weird creature lurking amongst their backyard. After weeks of this, their parents figured it was just the kids, being kids. After being awoken by a strange scratching sound one night, Dad, Henry McDaniel, grabbed his gun and a flashlight and peeked outside. There, between the bushes, he saw a creature that was, quote, almost like a human body. Just as his kids had mentioned, a humanoid creature. 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little short arms, and 2 pink eyes as big and bright as flashlights. McDaniel said he fired 4 shots and he was sure that he hit the creature at least once, causing it to hiss like a wildcat at him before it ran off. Ow! McDaniel said he saw the creature jump 80 feet in 3 jumps, sprinting out of sight. The police found scratches on the door as well as footprints that looked like dog. Other eyewitness claims began to surface after the McDaniels reported it 3 more times. They tried to write this off as maybe a kangaroo escaped from a nearby zoo. Like, no. Number 5. Werewolf of France. In 18th century Gévaudan, France, a horrific amount of slayings had residents boarding up their doors petrified. Not a man, ghost, or ghoul, but a monstrous wolf beast. Jeanne Boulet was mysteriously found dead in 1764 with her throat more or less gone. Then another victim a month later, same thing, throat basically gone. Hundreds more were mauled with their throats and chests apparently eaten. Survivors who witnessed the attacks described an enormous wolf-like animal covered in black fur. The newspapers quickly dubbed the maulings as, quote, the beast of Gavaudan. Hundreds of hunting parties in the wake. Jean-Baptiste Duhamel organized more than 30,000 volunteers to hunt down and kill this thing. Still, yeah, no luck. And the body count just continued to grow. An estimated 300 people perished from these attacks. Historians have yet to agree on what exactly happened at Gavaudan. Some say it was simply mass hysteria, and some say simply a pack of wolves. Scary stuff, you know what I mean? Scary stuff. Dyatlov Pass Incident. A puzzling one to say the very least, this event in which 9 Soviet trekkers perished in the northern Ural Mountains between February 1st and 2nd, 1959, under very uncertain and still confusing circumstances. The experienced trekking group from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, led by Igor Dyatlov, had camped on the eastern slopes of Russia. Overnight, something caused them to cut their way out of their tent, flee barefoot, not dressed for the sub-zero night, and then perish. Investigation determined 6 of them died from hypothermia, 3 died from physical trauma. Okay, buckle up. 2 of the bodies had missing eyes, 1 had a missing tongue, and 1 had missing eyebrows. Apparently some clothing had traces of radiation on it as well, and reports of strange lights in the mountains as in orange orbs were reported the very same time. Lots of theories from Bigfoots to UFOs to military experiments. Officially, they landed on avalanche and accidental. I'm honestly surprised there's not a movie or a Netflix series about this yet.
Number 3, shapeshifters. Awesome. I'm not actually Taylor, I'm someone else pretending to be. That's cool. That's why I'm so energetic today. This next theory I wish I could claim for my own again, but it was actually former BBC presenter David Icke. He takes the cake himself. Here we go. He has since revealed himself as a conspiracy theorist, and one that surrounds the royal family had me stunned. Icke and quite a few others claim that the royal family is part of the Illuminati. Yeah, and then all of them earn their power because their human ancestor mated with reptilian aliens. They were clapping alien reptilians. That's how they became royals. That's the trick. You gotta clap some reptilian alien. David says the theory actually explains why royal families are obsessed with keeping their bloodlines clean with other royals. And you know, incest. But the biggest what the part of all this has to be when David told the public that he knows people who have seen royal family members change into reptiles and then back into human form again. Number 2, leaked letters. We'll end with some recent leaked letters. We love those. We love some gossip. We mentioned Princess Diana. Well, we've got more stuff. We've got more tea. In May 2018, the royal wedding, it was thought at the time that Meghan's father was absent because of a heart attack that he suffered days before. But a year or so later, it's revealed that Thomas Markle and the new Duchess weren't as close. There was some drama. There was some beef going on in the family. Thomas spoke out against his own daughter. There was a scandal where Meghan spoke to Oprah, the tell-all that we all watched, and Meghan actually said to her father that if you tell me the truth about what happened, about working with paparazzi, then we can help and get through it. But he wasn't able to do that, and that for me has really resonated. Yeah, if my dad was working with paparazzi, showing them private letters as well, just for clout, I'd be upset too. As if my dad can't even open his iPad without me, let alone leak my letters. Number 1, personal sheet changer. I can't tell if this is the worst thing ever or the best, but it's kept me laughing for months now. Royals have been sweating constantly about other people trying to, you know, take them out, right? It's a scary job. Everyone wants to attack you. I mentioned Boyd Jones on here a few times, that guy that stalked the Queen. It's terrifying. People are terrifying. Boyd Jones would go through the Queen's drawers and, you know, big ooh. So historically, the royal family would try their best to anticipate any and all attacks. Be as safe as you can be, right? Of course. Like the kissing sheets, for example. Oh, have you heard about these kissing sheets, this royal position? A great deal of monarchs hired taste testers to make sure nobody poisoned them, that's normal. But they also had a guy who would get tucked in the king's sheets. I would much rather have the latter, know what I mean? King Henry VIII hired somebody to make sure the bed wasn't poisoned. So you were required to make the king's bed every morning, but you also had to rub all the sheets down everywhere before bedtime. You'd have to kiss the bed sheets to make sure they weren't poisoned. Yeah, sleep tight. All safe here, boss. Here we go. Don't mind the old medieval dad breath all over your pillows. You're safe for the night. That's so gross. I can't even sleep in a hotel sometimes, let alone some dude. Mwah, 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 mwah. Mwah, mwah. I'm like, what are you doing? Get this guy out of here. Why is he kissing my bed? Clothes as well. That was also touched. Maybe not kissed, but it was for sure touched. Guys wearing my clothes in my bed, kissing my sheets? No way. I think I'd rather get poisoned. Take my jeans off. Get out of there.
Number 10, the Lincoln Park Zoo. Right off the bat, not a big fan of zoos, not gonna lie. Lots of land where animals can roam free and safe, no problem. Kids banging on the glass? Yeah, that's a forced prison cell. The Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago, Illinois. Lions, tigers, and apparently well-dressed ghostly apparitions. The zoo was built over Chicago's oldest and largest cemeteries. Probably not a good idea right off the bat. It held the remains of thousands of people. Apparently like 12,000 remains are still under the zoo, which is apparently to blame for all the hauntings that take place there. Victorian-era clothing just seen wandering about the park. Opened in the 1860s, and since then, dapper dressed visitors have been known to congregate there. Ghostly women can be spotted near the lion house, near and in the ladies' room. Reflections of ghosts in the mirrors are notoriously reported. That's horrifying. Can you imagine? Ah! It's a handsome guy behind me there. Number 9, altered carbon. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to Hulk smash that button at the end, huh? Or leave us a comment on what haunting history you want to know more about. Speaking of history, NASA did their first twins study a couple of years ago, and the findings are different, to say the least. 7% of astronaut Scott Kelly's genetic makeup, expression, DNA, and genes did not return to baseline after his return to home. What? Yeah, his identical twin and fellow astronaut Mark Kelly remained on Earth was compared against his brother's genes. Kelly's newly genetic expression had in fact changed. Good news? He and Mark are still identical twins. Kinda. Kelly's transformation took a hold of at least 5 biological pathways and functions in his body. Chemical changes in his RNA and DNA were measured. 93% of Kelly's genes stayed the same, but some a little different. Thought to be caused by the stresses of space travel on the body, scientists are still scratching their heads at this one. I also find it super interesting that the name Scott Kelly just got handpicked for the UAP study team at NASA, huh? Interesting. Number 8, Old State. 5 miles south of Santa Fe, New Mexico lays a maximum security prison built in 1885. 3 infamous and bloody riots. 1922, 1953, and the worst of all, 1980. The 80s, that'll do it to you. Arguably the worst prison riot in American history. February 2nd, the inmates initiated a riot which led to the complete control over the prison for at least 2 days. Overcrowded, underfunded, and riddled with fresh-faced security. After escaping, the cellmates tortured 12 prison guards and murdered 33 fellow inmates. Trust me, medieval in nature. And cue paranormal sightings around cell block 4. The men in number 4 were apparently butchered and even hanged in the cell. This section of the prison was closed in 1998 and is now referred to as Old Main. Ghostly figures have been seen roaming the halls, slamming cell doors apparently. Yeah, see, this is why I don't even jaywalk, you know what I mean? I don't take the risk. Places like this, right here.
Number 7, King Rudolph II. The Holy Roman Emperor from 1552. He was known as a collector of sorts. These royals, they like to collect things, they like to spend their money on weird things. Some princes collect stamps, others collect zoo animals. See, his castle was home to lions, tigers, and orangutans, so good luck getting a full 8 hours of sleep, my friends. He also collected human artifacts, this royal, so that's a bit odd to collect when you're a royal. Imagine having company over, you're like, yeah, watch the lion crap, and also don't mind the jars of eyes. Do you want a drink? Let me get you a drink. King Rudolph II, okay, he's quite important in history, obviously. He supported the scientific revolution a lot, and he also poured tons of money into astrology, so he was into cool stuff. Number 6, Prince Harry costume party. YouTube doesn't like when I say some words, specifically a word that rhymes with Yahtzee. But with this being one of the biggest scandals, I have to bring it up, I have to mention it. The Duke was also referred to as a bad boy, but just how deep did these incidents cut? Was he like topless on a beach and he's bad, or was he dressed up as something horrible at a Halloween party? It was the latter. Before he settled down with Meghan in 2018, Harry had to issue a public apology in 2005 because, whoops, somebody got photos from that party. Did the royal dress up as the Beast from Beauty and the Beast? No. Did he dress up like a witch? No, it would have been fun, but no. Photos leaked of him wearing a World War II German soldier outfit. Can't say much here, but it was even equipped with a specific armband. Yeah, we can't show you either, but you get what I'm saying. This was a not great time. It was poor taste. He could have dressed up in any way. He's a royal, and he does this instead. I don't know, it's very off-putting. Harry said afterwards, quote, "I am very sorry if I caused any offense or embarrassment to anyone," end quote. Wow, he really meant that one. Really came from the heart, that apology. It was a poor choice of costume, and I apologize, he says. Okay, number 5. King Henry II. This is a quote that people believe was Nostradamus predicting the death of King Henry II, who actually was a personal acquaintance of the prophet himself. That'd be scary. Hey, how do I tell you this? While at one point Nostradamus was seen addressing King Henry II as the most invincible Henry, King of France, unfortunately Henry proved to be quite vincible when he met his gruesome death at the age of 40. In the summer of 1559, a terrible jousting accident went awry and left the king passing away shortly after from sepsis. This is a terrible story, but I told you it because many think that Nostradamus predicted this. The jousting incident saw the king having splinters driven into his eye and his skull by one of his young soldiers, and the Nostradamus quote reads, "The young lion will overcome the older one." Yeah, he's jousting and then the eye, and then it happened. That sucks. Number 4, Prince Charles the Vampire. Now, some of these theories, yeah, they're a bit out there. I didn't make them up. I wish I did, but I didn't. Some believers out there actually think Prince Charles is a vampire, a blood-sucking, flying, turning into a bat-looking vampire. I don't know. Why? Because Prince Charles is related to Vlad the Impaler. You know, that 15th century ruler who inspired the story of Dracula in Transylvania, who we're all pretty sure was a vampire. Now, it's a fun theory that went about, but Prince Charles having a piece of Romania is definitely helping out this case. We kind of believe this. The prince has been conserving forests and he even got property over there, so maybe he's a vampire, maybe not. Maybe he just likes property and castles. And Vlad the Impaler. I heard he's a great lad. A great Vlad.
Number 3, the bed of where. Apparently there's a bed that makes you more woozy and sick than that of a drunken night on a waterbed. Yeah, I know. I've been there, I had one. See, this bed, the great bed of where, doesn't really like people sleeping on it. The hardwood oak is richly decorated and carved with symbols and hieroglyphics you could stare at all day. A true California king. Built in the 15th century for King Edward IV, it was defaced and graffitied so hard over the years that it's absolutely riddled head to toe in curses. You're not of royal blood? Don't even think about napping near this thing. People who have spent the night apparently are violently awoken by visitors watching them sleep. You were there and you were there? There are so many initials and images carved into the wood that it's hard to know who actually the bed was made for, generation after generation. The bed lays in the British galleries of the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. We need the Long Island medium to take a nap in there. See what she sees, you know? Number 2. Ballista balls. More than 2,000 stones were found during an archaeological excavation in an ancient city between Syria and Israel where the Golan Heights sit, home to the most amount of ancient ballista stones from the early Roman period. Ballista balls are basically sanded stones, small and smooth, designed for an ancient slingshot catapult thing. Like a snowball to the head, but a rock. Very deadly. In 2020, ballista balls in Israel were returned to the authorities apparently 15 years after they were stolen from the site. Returned by an anonymous person from the Jerusalem Walls National Park in the city of David, the man returned the 2,000-year-old ballista balls and wrote a little note. Yeah. Quote, "These are 2 Roman ballista balls from Gamla. I stole them in 1995. Since then, they've brought me nothing but trouble. Please do not steal antiques." End quote. Thank you, random guy with bad luck and curses. Yeah, don't steal, that's bad. It's against the law. There's ancient curses still out there too. There's lots we don't know here still. Number 10. Cursed trumpets. King Tut's trumpets are a pair that were found in the burial chamber of the 18th dynasty pharaoh upon discovery. 1 silver and 1 bronze. The oldest operational trumpets in the world and the only known surviving examples from ancient Egypt. Both are engraved with images of the gods and both were silent for more than 3,000 years before the trumpets were played for 150 million people live on a BBC broadcast in 1939. And then World War II happened. Yeah, because apparently the curator of the Tut collection at the Egypt Museum says whenever they're played, a war occurs. Yeah. The bronze trumpet was stolen from the museum in Cairo during the looting riots of 2011 and then hilariously enough returned 2 weeks later. Yeah, apparently Buddy didn't like the ancient gods just roaming his condo. You think? Number 9. Annabelle. The most infamous and dangerous possessed doll in the world. Yeah, pretty well all you need to know about that. Found at the home of the Warrens Occult Museum in Connecticut, we know a little bit about this doll with all the films about her. She rests inside a glass case marked, "Warning, positively do not touch." Aggressive, but necessary. Gifted to a nursing student from a thrift store in the 70s, incidents involving levitating onto the table and running around at night, she took the doll to a medium who said it was possessed by a little girl who had passed. Ed and Lorraine were called shortly after, and they offered to take it to their home. On the way home, Ed said that the doll was making the car do funny things. Swerving, no power steering, brake checks. Haunted. Yeah. The museum unfortunately shut down in 2019, but the cursed objects seem to be staying put, which the owners even refused to make eye contact with. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I would definitely Ronaldo that thing across the room if it was running around my apartment 2 a.m. Just field goal it right out the window. Number 8. Travis Walton. The horrifying abduction of Arizona forester Travis Walton. This is my favorite alien abduction case, yet the scariest, hands down. Fire in the Sky, filmed in 1993, does a pretty bang-up job at what happened that night. In 1975, Walton and a logging crew were working in the National Forest. Him and 6 of his co-workers encountered a saucer-shaped craft feet away from their truck, making a high-pitched tone. The curious Walton was then blasted by a light beam and apparently abducted into their ship. The men were terrified and drove off immediately. Walton claims that he then woke up in a hospital room on board, observed by 3 short, bald creatures, before fighting tirelessly and losing consciousness. He remembers nothing else until he found himself awake, walking along a highway 5 days later, naked, just wandering the highway in a daze. He's had tons of interviews. Guy was definitely taken. He's also so peaceful about it too. He's just convinced that they tried to heal him from the accidental blast. I check your organs and your pineal gland. Just make sure they're all there and intact, you know? Holy moly. Number 7. The Sea Witch. Planes, trains, and automobiles, and haunted boats, apparently. The USS Salem, a heavy World War II cruiser built in 1945, found herself steered towards a distress call from a disaster brewing. The USS Salem responded to the 1953 Ionian earthquake, aka the Great Kefalonia earthquake. The USS Salem landed on Greek shores and acted as an improvised hospital and morgue. The Sea Witch is what they called her. Paranormal activities that arise on this ship include more than 9 ghosts. The Burning Man, the Cook, the 2 little girls, the Salty Captain, and of course, the Hellhounds. Yeah, an aggressive pack of ghostly dogs growling, scratching, and sniffing at locked doors in the middle of the night. Hellhounds. Like, really? Number 6. The Lizzie Borden House. A quaint bed and breakfast located at one of America's most haunted houses. Complimentary coffee, breakfast, and banshees, apparently. The murders of Lizzie Borden in 1892. One of the most infamous crime figures known for murdering her parents with a hatchet. Well, they think. She was acquitted of the killings and the case remains unsolved to this day. The infamous and popular Boston children's rhyme is linked to this case. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw that she had done, she gave her father 41. That was like the worst accent I've ever done. That's horrible. Kids today. Although Lizzie Borden was acquitted and found not guilty, the dark history draws in crowds every night for its nightly ghost tours around the house. The infamous Lizzie Borden room is where apparently the murders took place. It's actually requested the most for paranormal overnighters. A little jingle and a continental breakfast, huh? Not the scariest on the list, but definitely the sickest. Just eating eggs Florentine where someone got axed? I don't know. Number 5. Keramikos. This earth is a very old place, isn't it? Göbekli Tepe, Petra, like these places are old. But Greece? Greece is like ancient old. In 2020, a collection of more than 30 inscribed tablets were found at the bottom of a 3,000-year-old Athenian well in the ancient cemetery of Keramikos. Scary enough, right? You see, these tablets bear curses and prayers to the gods of the underworlds. Yeah. Back then, black magic and the use of curses was forbidden in Greece, which makes this even more jarring. Refound in 2016, the cemetery where the well lays was first excavated in 1870. During World War II, the excavation lost momentum and was partially ruined. The site consists of a massive sanctuary housing thousands of precious artifacts from thousands of years ago. Keramikos, from the Greek word for pottery and ceramics, arguably the most important cemetery of all ancient Athens. And of course, absolutely riddled with the oldest tombs and curses that went along with them. So much jealousy back then too, huh? Adonis is mine, Callisto and your high cheekbones. Number 4. The Double Eagle. In Mesilla, New Mexico, they're grilling up more than just steaks. The Double Eagle restaurant is a must-stop for paranormies. Property's first owners, the Mays family. A grisly history with this one. Mom, aka Sonora Mays, expected only the best for her son Armando, and I don't think she saw that in her son's lover's eyes. 2 forbidden star-crossed lovers and a pair of sewing scissors. Uh-oh. Double hamburgers and double homicides, apparently. The Double Eagle restaurant is home to a murder most foul. When Sonora Mays discovered the relationship between her son and the lover, of a lower class, she demanded that it end immediately. Mom came home unexpectedly, interrupting the lover's mid-swoon. She grabbed her sewing shears and attacked Enos, killing her. However, mid-stab, Armando threw his body in front and was stabbed too. Yeah, that's some Romeo and Juliet shit right there. Overnighters report ghostly figures and the feeling of heartache, for never was a story of more woe than this of Enos and her Armando. Number 3. A haunting in Connecticut. Based on all real case and point. A 2009 gem. The accounts of the horrific case of the Snedekers, who moved into a ghost-infested house in Connecticut, unknowingly moving into one of the most sinister haunted funeral homes on Earth. At first, Mom notices items missing, but that's just the start. Then the children started to see strange people in their home, and then their son started to act a little strange. Violent outbursts, physical attacks on his own family. Maybe he was becoming the next victim to the house's grim history. After months of scary stuff going on, the Warrens were finally called in, and turned out the morticians that had lived there previously had practiced some abysmally sinister acts on some lifeless bodies, deepening the home into the hell it was now sold as. An exorcism or two later, and the house finally became a home again. The case can be reimagined in 2009's Haunting in Connecticut, where the story follows the story drawn out by the Snedekers all those sinister years ago. Yo, Taylor gets possessed, I'm swinging immediately. You know what I mean? Like so many holy hands right away, just... Number 2. Statue of Lem. The Women of Lem statue was discovered in Lem, Cyprus in 1878 and dates back to about 3500 BCE. The statue earned the nickname the Goddess of Death after 4 different families experienced tragedy while possessing the carved stones. The first owner, along with his entire family, died within 6 years of owning the statue, all of mysterious and rapid illnesses. The other 2 owners also died, of course, along with their entire families, just a few short years after obtaining the statue. The 4th owner died alongside his wife and 2 daughters of mysterious causes while in possession of the rock. Now, a gift to the Royal Scottish Museum in Edinburgh, it's encased in glass, safe, and unable to bear any other family bad omens. And number 1, the mummy. My number 1 spot, of course, this is the most terrifying find of all. In 1991, a 5,000-year-old frozen preserved human mummy was discovered in the frozen Ötztal Alps of Italy. Ötzi, of course, is the name the researchers chose to name this mummy for obvious location reasons. Ötzi, though, is believed to have been murdered before being frozen in time due to the discovery of an arrowhead embedded in his left shoulder, various wounds on his body, and also the blood-soaked tunic he's wearing with multiple people's DNA on it. Maybe in combat, maybe from megafauna, who knows? Scientists believe that he's the oldest known naturally preserved mummy on Earth. This is where it's gonna get spooky. Once unearthed, a curse surfaced too, and grew stronger as people linked to him began to die one after another in violent freak accidents. So far, 7 deaths have been tied or related to Ötzi's de-thawing, including forensic pathologist who was killed in a car accident en route to give a speech about Ötzi, a mountaineer in an avalanche, a hiker who discovered the Iceman falling down a treacherous path, the molecular archaeologist was found dead in his home, the head of the forensic team had a heart attack, another discoverer died of a sudden brain tumor, and another of multiple sclerosis. Yo, say what you will about curses, when people start dropping all involved with the find, I'd say it's probably the 5,000-year-old mummy you just found. You think?